Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in today. In today's class, I'm going to be showing you how to make an off-shoulder dress with ruffle at the shoulder, okay? So the first thing you want to know about making an off-shoulder is to decide how low you want it on the shoulder area, okay? From 4 inches to 6 inches is okay for the off-shoulder, okay? If you don't want it to be too low, you can use 4 inches, okay? But for mine, I'm going to be using 5 inches for that, okay? So on the shoulder line, I placed my measuring tape on that 5 inches point, and I'm going to measure my armhole measurement, okay, which is 8 inches. Remember, I placed my measuring tape 5 inches. The 5 inches point I'm using is on the shoulder line, okay? So I'm going to measure my waistline, and from the waistline I'm going to mark my hip line, which is 8 inches from the waistline. After that, I'm going to go over to the shoulder. On the shoulder line, I'm going to mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 7 inches. And I'm going to connect that point to the armhole that I made like so. After that, I'm going to mark 1/4 of my bust measurement on the bust line, okay? So this is a stretchy fabric. It doesn't really require seam allowance, but I'm just going to add 1/2 inch seam allowance so you can follow me clearly, okay? So on the waistline, I'm going to mark my waist measurement divided by 4, which is 6.75, and then I'm also going to add 1/2 inch seam allowance to that measurement. All right, on the hip line, I'm also going to mark 1/4 of my hip measurement plus 1/2 inch for seam allowance, okay? After doing that, I'm going to connect the waistline to the hip line and then connect the bust line down to the waistline like so. Now we are done with the upper part. I'm going to take the full length, placing my measuring tape on the 5 inches on the shoulder the way I did when I was marking out my measurement. As you can see here, my measuring tape is at 5 inches on the shoulder. So I'm going to mark the full length of this dress, which is 41 inches. I added 1 inch to that to make it 42 inches for the seam allowance. So I connected the hip line to the hem line, and I'm going to take the entire hip measurement that I have. I will mark it on the lower part, that is the hem line, and I'm going to go in by 1/2 inch to give the lower part a curved or a pencil shape. And after marking that, I'll just connect the points with my straight ruler, just the way I am doing it here, okay? So after covering that point, I'm going to also cover the lower part and then go ahead and cut out my pattern, okay? So one thing you want to know about making an off shoulder is you have to decide if you want it to be too low on the shoulder line or not too low. Like I said, from 4 to 6 inches is okay for that. All right, after cutting it out, this is what I have for mine. When it's open, this is what I have. So I'm going to use this pattern to go ahead and cut out the back pattern for this dress, okay? So I'm going to place this and cut out the back. So I have cut out my back, and I added 1 inch for zipper allowance to the back panel, and I'm going to go ahead and slit that open so that we can have 2 pieces for the back. So I'm just marking to know that this is the wrong side, because sometimes these fabrics can be very deceitful. You may get confused not knowing which is the wrong and the right side while sewing. So these are the 2 parts I have for my back, and this is the front panel of the dress, okay? So I'm going to set these 2 parts aside, and then I'm going to show you how to cut the shoulder, the ruffle for the shoulder of the dress. All right, so I'm going to be using this fabric. So the first thing you want to do is to go ahead and measure your shoulder round. So after measuring that, you're going to multiply that measurement by 2, okay? Mine is 37 inches, okay? But because my fabric is not long, I'm going to cut this twice. So I'm going to first of all cut 37 inches and then cut another 37 inches. Alright, so for the length of the ruffle, how long I want it to be, I'm going to mark 6 inches for that, folded in 2, okay? You know I'm going to fold this into 2 while attaching. So after marking that 6 inches, I'm going to cut it out. So by the time I open it up like this is what I have. I have about 12 inches when it's opened like this. So I have 12 by 37 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one to cut out the second part of the shoulder ruffle, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. So right here is what I have for the 2 parts I'm going to be using for the ruffle. So I'm going to put this aside, and I'm going to stitch this together to give me one long strip that I'm going to be using for the ruffle of this off-shoulder dress, okay? So I'm going to set this aside and show you how to stitch the dress. So for the dress, this is the front panel that I've laid out on the table. I'm going to go ahead and place one side of the back panel on this like this. Make sure you place it right sides facing each other. I'm going to make sure they align, and I'm going to take the other piece, place on it like so, right sides facing as well. And then I'll take this to the sewing machine and make a stitch on the sides. And on the other side as well, I'm going to go ahead and make a stitch like so. So for the zipper side, I'm also going to go ahead and stitch the back like so together. And then when I get to where I'm going to insert my zipper, I'm going to stop stitching, okay? So I'm going to leave the zipper allowance opening while I'm stitching, okay? So I'm going to also close the two shoulder, the ruffle I'm using for the shoulder. This is it. I'm going to attach the two together like I explained. I cut mine twice, meaning I have to sew it together to get one long strip. After doing that, then I'll go ahead and sew it like so, fold it into 2 and sew it like this, and then I'll go ahead and turn it inside out. I'll show you that in a moment. So right here I have closed the side of my dress, and the center, the back side, I have closed everything as you can see. So I left the opening for the zipper like I explained. I left the opening for the zipper. That would be where I'll attach my zipper. And for the armhole, I closed it, I folded it in, and then I stitched it to give it a nice look. Alright, so what I did again was to cut out the strip for me. Alright, so you are going to measure your shoulder around your arm, and then whatever measurement you have is what you will use to cut the strip. So I'm going to be attaching this to the dress like so on the arm side. So I'll attach it like this for one side, and then I'll attach the other one to the other side. So this piece is going to be where I'll stitch my ruffle to, okay? When I want to stitch the ruffle to the dress, I'll stitch around this piece that I'm going to attach to the dress, okay? So this is the ruffle part of the dress. Like I explained, I attached the two panels together, stitched it, and then turned it inside out, and then I gave it a good press. So this is what I have for the ruffle, okay? So you see the seam, I made sure that the seam is inside like so, and you can see where I joined mine together. You can see the seam I made to join mine together, okay? So if your fabric is long enough, you won't need to join yours together. Alright, so this is how I'm going to go ahead and pleat this on the shoulder. So I'm going to do that now. So this is the dress. I have attached the piece I made for the arm. So I attached the two pieces. As you can see, like I explained, this piece is going to hold the ruffle around your arm side. Okay, so this is where I'm going to be attaching the ruffle to the arm side. So I'm going to turn this from the back like so. I'm going to start pleating. I'm going to place this, making sure that the side I joined is inside, okay, not outside. And then I'm going to start pleating this on the shoulder like so. So I'm going to pleat and stitch all around the shoulder. So I would suggest that if you want to make this tie, you should use a lighter fabric. You know, scuba fabrics are very, very thick, and by the time you fold it like so, the way we have here, it might be difficult to pass through, you know, the sewing machine. It's not going to pass through easily. So I suggest you use either a lighter fabric like a crepe fabric, and then you use your interfacing to make the inside thick so that it stands when you pleat it on the shoulder, okay, because you might find it difficult to pass through your sewing machine. So after doing that, this is what I have for mine. It is looking very, very beautiful. I just said let me quickly show you. This is beautiful. I finished up the back zipper part. I attached my zip and I stitched on I finished the hemming on the lower part, and I'm just going to quickly go ahead and throw this on to show you how it looks on me, okay? So this is the dress. Ignore how I look, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Till I see you next